The intergalactic trading station Nexus Prime buzzed with activity as beings from across the galaxy conducted business in its sprawling corridors. James Chen adjusted his worn leather jacket and checked the time on his comm device. He was running, late for the most important meeting of his life. A contract negotiation that could secure Earth's entry into the Galactic Trade Federation. Beside him, Lisa Martinez carried a heavy briefcase containing humanity's trade proposals. Her diplomatic credentials gleamed on her uniform, though she couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into a den of predators. "Remember," Lisa whispered as they approached the designated meeting chamber, "we represent all of humanity today. Stay calm no matter what they say." James nodded, though his jaw tightened when he heard the unmistakable sound of alien laughter echoing from behind the chamber doors. As they entered, the laughter died abruptly, replaced by barely concealed snickers from the assembled delegates. The chamber was vast, designed to accommodate beings of various sizes and physiologies. Towering above them stood Vextar, a reptilian, saurian whose scales shimmered with authority. His amber eyes fixed on the two humans with obvious amusement. To his left sat Ambassador Kelnari, an insectoid Vrex, whose mandibles clicked dismissively. On the right, a gelatinous flux named Glureth undulated with what could only be described as condescending mirth. "So," Vextar's voice boomed through the chamber's translation systems, "these are the legendary humans we've heard so much about." His massive head tilted as he examined them like specimens under a microscope. "Fascinating. You're even smaller than the reports indicated." Kelnari's compound eyes glittered. "I've seen more intimidating creatures in my hatchling's food bowl." The delegates erupted in laughter again. James felt Lisa's hand brush against his arm, a subtle reminder to keep his temper in check. "Size isn't everything," James replied evenly, though his voice carried an edge that made several aliens pause. Glureth's form rippled with amusement. "Oh, but it is, tiny human. In our galaxy, might makes right. Your species conquered a single world. Impressive for such diminutive beings, I'll grant you. But we've each conquered entire systems. What could you possibly offer the Federation?" Lisa stepped forward, her diplomatic training kicking in. "Our proposals outline Earth's unique resources, our technological innovations and—" "Innovations?" Vextar interrupted with a dismissive gesture. "We've reviewed your primitive weapons, your basic space travel, your simple computers, child's toys compared to our technology. Your largest predators," Kelnari added with cruel delight, "barely reach my shoulder height. We've seen your documentation of these lions and tigers and bears, laughable creatures that would flee at the sight of a juvenile Virex warrior." The mockery continued for several more minutes. James and Lisa endured it stoically, knowing that losing their composure would doom humanity's chances. But when Vexitar suggested that humans might make amusing pets for the more advanced species, James had heard enough. "Actually," he said quietly, reaching for his comm device, "I brought someone I'd like you to meet." The aliens exchanged glances, their laughter finally dying down. "Oh?" Vexitar rumbled. "Another tiny human to amuse us?" James activated his comm and spoke a single word. "Max." The chamber's reinforced doors suddenly buckled inward with a thunderous crash. Metal screamed as something massive forced its way through the opening, sending twisted debris flying across the room. Several aliens scrambled backward as a shadow fell across the chamber. What emerged defied their understanding of Earth's creatures. Max stood nearly 12 feet at the shoulder, his sleek black form rippling with muscle beneath fur that seemed to absorb light itself. His eyes, an unsettling shade of electric blue, swept across the room with predatory intelligence. He was unmistakably canine in basic structure, but everything else about him was wrong. Too large, too perfect, too aware. The saurian delegates, who moments before had been laughing at human weakness, now pressed themselves against the chamber walls. Kelnari's wings buzzed frantically as ancient prey instincts overrode rational thought. Even Glureth's fluid form contracted into a tight, defensive sphere. Max padded silently to James's side and sat, his massive head still towering over most of the aliens present. His tail wagged once, a gentle movement that generated enough air displacement to scatter papers across the conference table. "This," James said calmly, scratching behind Max's ear, "is my dog." The word dog sent ripples of confusion through the translation systems. Several aliens consulted their databases frantically, trying to reconcile this massive predator with the small domesticated creatures in Earth's files. "Impossible," Vextar whispered, his voice shaking. That is an apex predator. Look at those teeth, those claws, that bone structure. Nothing that size could be domesticated. Nothing that powerful could be controlled." "You're right," Lisa said, her diplomatic composure returning as she realized the shift in power dynamics. "Max here is what we call a good boy." She reached up to pat Max's flank and the massive creature's tail wagged again, this time with enough force to rattle the chamber's lighting fixtures. James smiled, not the diplomatic smile he'd worn earlier, but something far more predatory. "You see, when humans first evolved, we shared our world with creatures like Max. Direwolves, cave bears, saber-toothed cats, beings that could tear us apart without effort. But instead of running, we did something that apparently never occurred to any of your species." He gestured to Max, who responded by rolling over onto his back, exposing his belly in a display of trust that sent several aliens into shocked silence. "We made friends." Kelnari's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation. "That creature could eliminate every being in this chamber in seconds." "Could," James agreed. "But he won't. Because 15,000 years ago his ancestors made a choice. They chose to trust us, to hunt with us, to protect us, and we chose to feed them, shelter them, love them." He looked directly at Vextar. "We turned the apex predators of our world into family." Max rolled back to his feet and padded over to Lisa, who began rubbing his massive ears. The sight of a being barely a tenth of the creature's size showing such casual intimacy with death incarnate was clearly beyond the alien's comprehension. "You want to know what humans bring to the Federation?" James continued. "We don't conquer through force. We don't dominate through fear. We survive through something you've apparently never discovered: the ability to turn enemies into allies, predators into protectors, strangers into family." He paused, letting that sink in before delivering the final blow. "Earth isn't just our world. It's the world we share with millions of species we've learned to work with instead of simply dominating. Our primitive planet has biodiversity that makes your conquered worlds look like barren wastelands. And every single one of those species, from the bacteria in our soil to creatures like Max, are potential allies." The chamber fell into absolute silence. Max yawned, revealing teeth that could shear through steel, then settled down beside James like the universe's most dangerous house pet. Glurith was the first to speak, his form still contracted with fear. "The implications: if humans can domesticate apex predators, we can domesticate anything," Lisa finished, "including former enemies who thought they were too proud to negotiate fairly." Vextar's amber eyes darted between the humans and their impossible companion. When Max's gaze met his, the Saurian leader saw something that chilled him to his bones. Not wild fury or predatory hunger, but calm, patient intelligence backed by absolute loyalty to his human pack. "Your terms," Vextar said quietly. We would like to hear your terms." James smiled and sat down at the conference table. Max settled beside him, chin resting on paws that could crush armor plating. "I thought you'd never ask." 2 hours. Later, humanity had its place in the Galactic Federation, not as junior members or amusing curiosities, but as equals with a very special skill set. As they prepared to leave, Kelnari approached James cautiously. "That creature," the Vrex ambassador said, "it really is your pet?" James looked at Max, who was currently having his belly rubbed by 3 different alien diplomats who had apparently overcome their fear. "Pet's the wrong word," James replied. "He's family. And if you're very lucky, someday we might consider you family too." Max barked once in agreement, a sound like thunder that would echo through the galaxy's diplomatic circles for generations to come. Along with the story of the day, the universe learned that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't technology or aggression. It was friendship.